mental health is something that we don't talk about enough. In the black community, we're massively overrepresented in the mental health institutions, even more so than in the prisons. And again, these are questions we have to ask. Well, why?
But once you get a control and an understanding of who you are, no one can use you against you. No one can ever use your mental illness against you. You've already spoke about it, so what you got?
The biggest point in life to resolve mental health is like giving a fuck about a person.
Where did you get the courage? I got the courage for 2 words. I care.
It's Chill Will Radio, where connections will be made, advice will be given, jokes will be told, and things will get real. My name is Willis Cooks, and I'm your host. But understand this show is not meant to be used as a substitute for a relationship with a licensed mental health professional. Enjoy the show, y'all. Yo. Damn, I know I'm what time is it? 6:23? I know I'm hella late. Everything seems off. This music is loud. The mic seems a little low. Man, today so far has been a good day, but these damn settings messing with this stuff, boy, oh boy. Every now and then, man, you got to come inside and rearrange a few things, and cause shit gonna be messed up, man, and that's what it is. That's why I'm, again, starting, 6:23, 25 minutes late. The last time I started this late was 2 weeks ago? 40 minutes late, something like that, man. This is when I had a guest, man. So it's a little better, a little bit easier being that I'm here by myself, but it's still, sometimes a little bit frustrating. A little bit frustrating when you try to go in and, start at a certain time, but things go left. But just because things go left, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to be like, fuck it. You gotta, do what you gotta do, roll with the punches and get shit right, to make sure everything is tuned in and fine-tuned correctly. So, but we here. That's all that matters. We here. The show must go on. So, to all those individuals who were listening through the little test run earlier, as me, Keith, and Didier were trying to figure things out, man, this is the real show. No more test runs, man. So, thank you to those individuals who are listening and tuning in, man. This is episode number 51. 51 episodes in so far, man. How am I doing? This week has been, I don't know. I feel like so far I've been kind of lax, just kind of, I don't want to say falling off, but falling off, so to say, I guess, when it comes to my time management. I'm trying to get that a little bit better, but it's a process with everything else. Everything's real busy, man. The one thing that I've been focusing on this week is just to not stress myself out entirely too much, because I got a lot going on. And what I'm starting to realize is that I have to stop certain things. I'm going to have to not go certain places. Like at this point right now in my life, unless I go to the gym at 4 o'clock in the morning or at 11 o'clock at night, I won't be able to make it to the gym every single day. And that's just because of everything that I have going on in my life right now. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a good thing. But it's about being able to rearrange the schedule that you've already had set out for yourself, and not being disappointed in the fact that you have to reschedule. That you have to realign your schedule, right? Because things happen, things change, and things aren't always going to go the way you want them to go. So when it is time to shift, you got to go with the punches. You got to go with how things are moving. So that way you can be able to function at your highest quality, your highest vibration. So that's just where I'm at right now. And one of the things that's kind of been on my mind a lot this week, and the one thing I've noticed, I've been talking to a lot of my patients in group therapy and individual therapy this week, is forgiveness. Is it okay to forgive? Is it not okay to forgive? Are you doing a little bit too much when it comes to forgiving? Like, when is it okay to forgive? When is it not okay to forgive? And I think the one thing that kind of brought this to light was, that situation with the Angry Geiger case, who with the young man that got killed in his room, and then his brother hugged the murderer. that was an interesting thing for me because it brought up this aspect of forgiveness. And is forgiveness okay? You know, I mean, there's other aspects in it, such as what race and, you know, systemic racism and crime, all these other things, other stuff that goes into it. But I'm just looking at the forgiveness aspect of it right now. And I've been looking at the forgiveness aspect throughout the week. And then sometimes when I come across things that are in the public eye that I, you know, want some opinion on, I sometimes go to my clients and I ask them, and I try to always relate real life situations to what they have going on in their life. And, you know, in one of the groups, I was speaking about this, it was an all female group. It was all girls in that group. Everybody in there was under the age of 18. And we were speaking about this. And one of them made a drastically, you know, crucial point. Was that it's okay to forgive, but that don't mean I have to fuck with you again. But then I had to ask her, okay, do you believe sometimes we're forgiving the wrong people for the wrong things or the right reasons? Her response is like, you know, it's important. And I understood this, but it feels much better coming from, you know, a patient and someone who's under the age of 18 who is still young. She spoke about how forgiveness is never about the other person, and forgiveness is more so about yourself. When you're trying to forgive someone for someone else, that forgiveness is always going to be wrong. It's never going to be genuine. It's always going to be with something attached. I'm going to forgive you just so I can get something on the back end, you know. But what we have to do when it comes to forgiving people, we have to learn how to let go. We have to let go, not for the next person, but let go for ourselves. See, we hold on to guilt, we hold on to shame, we hold on to hate, anger, sadness, all of these things. We hold on to it because we just don't want to forgive. And just the word forgiveness is very, very hard for a lot of people who are going through things. A lot of people who are the victim of certain situations, right? You cannot tell it is hard for a young girl who was molested for years by her father to forgive her father. That's a hard thing for that individual to do. And will they ever get to that point? Some have, some not. Is it beneficial? That's on that other person to understand. But it's important to never forget that when it comes to forgiveness, forgiveness is about you first. It's never about the other person. So when it comes to that individual who hugged, you know, the murderer of his brother, I try my best to put myself in that person's position and ask myself, would I be the one to hug that person? I wouldn't, because I don't need to show that type of compassion in order to forgive. Granted, there's a little bias on my side, right? I don't want nobody's compassion. I don't want your forgiveness. I don't want your compassion. I don't want your love. I don't want anything from you. But at the same token, should I have compassion for you because you've done this heinous act? I don't know if I should have compassion for the next person, because we begin to think like, yo, that person didn't have compassion for me. That person wasn't thinking about me. You know, does that person even truly care about my compassion? You know, is my compassion for that person meaningful? Does it mean anything? Because if it doesn't mean anything, then what's the point of giving it? So we always have to go back and to remind ourselves and understand that it's never for the other person, you know. So in that situation, I hope that individual understood that, you know, that hug and that compassion isn't for her. It has to be for you. Because if it's not for you and you're just trying to forgive someone or say I'm sorry for the sake of it, you're never going to be able to get over it. It's never going to, that chapter in your life is never going to be able to close. And it's important that we're able to close these chapters up, because if we don't, it's going to make a lot of things in life that much harder. But hey, it's my little forgiveness rant. But moving on forward to the self-care piece, right? One of the things that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen, you know, it's simple. And self-care is about self. Self-care is about looking out for self. Self-care is about giving yourself time to actually chill, giving yourself some type of reward, giving yourself time to actually refill your tank, so to say, right? But for this self-care piece that I want everyone to implement on their self-care regimen is not be a little selfish and help someone out, right? Help someone out. Not every day. Doesn't have to be every day. It could be once a week, twice a month, once a month. Help some random person out. Give them a few bucks. If you have to spare, talk to somebody on the corner. Give somebody some advice. Volunteer somewhere. Help a family member out. Do something to assist someone. If someone in your family is going through a hard time with some bills, hey, pay a light bill. Randomly pay a light bill. Put some extra money on the light bill so the light bill could be in the negative. Shoot. If pay some of your roommates half of the rent. Just do something. Go volunteer at a school. Go volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. Go pick up trash. Go talk to a homeless person. It's plenty ways in which we can help someone out. And I think it's important that when we're speaking about self-care, we speak about someone else within this regimen we speak about helping someone out within this regimen because the more we give, the more we receive. The more we give, the more we receive, right? Granted, we all have to be selfish when it comes to the things that we have going on in our life because if we give everything without giving nothing to us, to ourselves, where our tank is going to be empty. But there are going to be times in which we are full. There are going to be times in which we just have the urge and the want to, just to randomly help someone else out. It's okay to do that. It's perfectly fine, So, self-care piece, I want everyone to implement a self-care regimen is help someone out. Like I said, it doesn't have to be, this isn't like a self-care piece that I want everyone to implement every day of your life. Because there are going to be certain days in which we just don't have the time to help someone else out. And, helping someone else out is subjective, right? It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be material things. It can just be checking in on someone and asking that person how they're doing. It could just be giving a little bit of advice. It could be just giving a ride. Help someone out within the capacity that you're able to do it in. Don't give somebody $100 if you ain't got $100. Don't give somebody that if and I hear this all the time, like don't be at church giving your money, giving your tithes if you're going to be late on the bill if you get his tithes. Like don't. It's not, no. It ain't worth it. Give within the capacity that you're able to give into. And move that way. If you're able to get out and if you have the time to volunteer somewhere, do that. If you have the finances to donate with something, do that. It doesn't have to be a large amount. It could be a few dollars. Whatever it is, whatever you need to do. But just help someone out. Once a month, once a week, whenever. It doesn't have to be every day, but keep it simple. Simple enough to where it's genuine. Don't be fake about this shit. Don't do that. Yeah. Don't help someone out with your phone in their face. Like, here, this is what I'm doing. This is my good deed for the... I hate it when I see that. Like, you got the phone up like, hey, I'm just out here feeding the homeless, I'm just, Nah, we ain't doing that. Not happening. Make it genuine. Put your phone up. Keep your phone away from you when you're performing this act. When you're talking to that person, be 100% into the conversation. 100% into that conversation. Look that person in their eyes. Actively listen. Don't just listen, but actively listen. Ask questions that will cause that person to think. Don't just be like, oh, that's cool. No. Have an actual conversation. Sad part about it is a lot of us don't know how to have conversations nowadays because of these damn phones and text messages and social media and stuff. But anyway, I digress. But help someone out. All right? That's the self-care piece that I want everyone to implement within their self-care regimen. Take a quick second to lend a hand, to open your hand up, to reach out, right? Don't reach out to the person that you think is going to spit on the hand that you're reaching out with. Like, don't do that. Don't set yourself up to fail. But reach out to someone that you know will appreciate it. So that way you can feel appreciated as well. Okay? So, moving on forward into the main topic, right? I initially had something planned for the main topic, but it got switched up last minute, like literally like the last 30 minutes before the show. And that topic that I was going to speak about is going to be pushed off to next week or the week later, whenever it is. But something happened to me yesterday at work, and it's caused me to really think about this whole aspect of feeling numb. And that's what we're going to speak about today, right? Just feeling numb, right? We're not going to go into why we get numb, because a lot of us understand why we get numb. You know, we've seen a lot of trauma. We've been through a lot of things. We're used to certain situations. It happens a lot, right? And then the title of this episode is called Depersonalization, right? Depersonalization is a symptom. I can't remember if it's an actual disorder within the DSM, but it's a symptom, right? It's a symptom, right? And I'll read the definition. You know, depersonalization, it's an altered state of self-awareness and identity that results in feelings of disassociation, right? Disassociating from a certain situation means that you're separating yourself from actually what's going on, right? You have people who have dissociative personality disorder, in which, you know, physically they're there, but mentally they don't believe they're there. They believe that there's someone else. Someone else is, you know, performing the act. You know, physically someone else, but mentally it's there. But feeling of disassociation or separation from oneself or one's surrounding, or both, because sometimes it's normal to feel that way, right? Sometimes we briefly and occasionally could become numb to certain situations, but it becomes an issue when you notice that that's your way of life, or you notice that it's happening consistently, right? So the thing that happened yesterday at work for me was that I was going into a patient's room. I was in a patient's room, and I was there only to ask the patient for the son's phone number so I could call the son and be like, hey, the hospital is looking at discharging your father to a skilled nursing facility. That's the only news I was going to give to the son, so I needed the phone number. I go in there, I'm talking to the patient, and the patient is cool. The patient he's there because he just had hip surgery. He's there because he just had hip surgery. And he's young, he's like in late 50s. He looked good. He wasn't overweight. He looked like he was in good shape or whatever, but he had hip surgery. You know, he had a hip replacement. And we're talking about football. He's talking about, you know, how he used to do things up in Florida because he went to school down there, and he was a man out there when he was playing football and this other stuff. We're going back and forth, and I'm talking to him, and then, you know, he just gets quiet. I ask him a question, and then he gets quiet. So it doesn't dawn on me till like a few seconds later, because I thought that he was thinking, because he got quiet. But he got quiet, and then he got quiet for a minute. So he got quiet for a minute, and then I noticed that his eyes didn't close. So I tap him. I'm like, yo. I wave my hand over his face. It's blank stare. Blank stare. I look at the EKG machine, and it flatlined. So I'm like, yo, what the fuck? Did this person just die in front of me in the middle of our conversation? And as I'm kind of, I don't want to say adjusting, but as I'm realizing like what is going on, guess who walks into the room? His son and his aunt. The son and aunt walks into the room. As soon as they walk into the room, the first thing I do is put my hands up like, I ain't do it. I did not. Nope. Because they walk into the room. Hey, what's going on? And I immediately take a step back. Son looks at me. He looks at Pops. He goes to Pops, start shaking him, moving him. Hey. I run outside. I go grab the nurse. She's like, yo, y'all got to call the emergency response team and blah, blah. Y'all need to get him over here. So they all rush in there. I go to my office, grab some paperwork, and then I head outside. And on the way to me head outside, I have to pass his room. And then as me passing his room, I see a few doctors in there, a few nurses. I see about a good 8 to 9 people in there. They're giving him chest compressions. They're trying to, start his heart. They're trying to wake him up. I go outside. I come back in. I go outside. Come back in. I see they have it covered over his head. I'm like, oh, shit. Right? So I watched the person die yesterday. And it was interesting to me because I just went on about my day. And I started to look at the other people in the hospital. We just went on about our day. The whole family is in the room crying right now. But I'll go take care of the other consults I got to take care of. I'll go see the other patients I got to take care of. We just go on about our day. We're numb. And it caused me to think, is it good to be numb to certain things? No. But is it good to be numb in certain situations? Yeah. In that situation, you don't want to be the individual that's hysterical or to freak out. You want to be able to maintain your composure within that situation. But at the same token, when it gets too much, when you begin to see your numbness is in many areas of your life, that's when it becomes a problem. So, because we all understand how we become numb or why we become numb, we never really speak about the ways to get out of it. Right? So that's what I wanted to speak about, right? Simple, quick little ways to get out of it. Right? Because, this whole feeling of numbness is, I don't know. It's beneficial on one end, but on the other end, it's also very detrimental. It's beneficial because when you're in a position in which you don't know how to maintain your composure, a life could be lost, right? When you're in a surgery room and you're giving surgery to a patient and that person starts to bleed or that patient isn't coming back, if you don't keep your composure and if you don't remain numb, so to say, to that situation, it can get bad. We want to be able to maintain our composure and at least be calm and cool in many situations. But we don't want that to happen in every ounce of our lives. But especially myself. The one thing that I'm kind of having an issue with is the fact that, and this happens to me a lot, the one thing that I have an issue with is the fact that I want to feel a certain way, but I don't know how. Right? I was just telling Didier, this before the show, and I tell my girl this all the time, that it's hard for me to get excited about things. I'm just numb to a lot of shit. Period. I'm numb to trauma. I'm numb to seeing things go happen. It's probably because of the line of work that I'm in that I see a bunch of reckless stuff every single day, but sometimes you want to be able to feel something. Right? And what I've had to realize is that, and what I've had to accept, and this is one of the first parts in which we all got to understand when it comes to being able to get out of this feeling of being numb or depersonalizing, is that we have to accept the fact that we don't know what we're doing in this situation. We have to accept the fact that we just going to be confused. We don't know what to do. I know for me, when I get asked certain questions, how are you feeling? Are you feeling good? What does good mean to you? Why are you feeling okay? Why are you straight? I be stuck. We all get like that sometimes, because saying we good is just kind of an automated response. It just flows out well. And it's not because we're purposely trying to keep things away from certain people. That happens sometimes, but it's just a habit. And we don't know how, when we've never really been able to really dive into our feelings. And then the second we try to dive into our feelings, we're like, yo, what the hell is this? I know for me, I'm like, what the hell is this? It's a confusing, uneasy place, because it's something we know nothing about, you know. So when it comes to someone who wants to try to get out of this feeling of being numb or whatever, how to gain some form of feelings, the first thing you got to do is accept the fact that you don't know what you're doing. Accept the fact that you don't know what you're doing. Accept the fact that you're going to be confused, and this shit is just going to feel weird. Like, very, very weird. And it's okay. It's perfectly fine. But another thing that I want you to understand is that when you're moving forward from trying to once you do accept it, one of the things you must do is identify with the feeling that you're trying to identify with. Name that feeling. Name it. But one of the ways you're going to be able to name a feeling is that you're going to have to tune in and turn into self. You're going to have to turn into self in order to name whatever feeling you're trying to name. Because you're not going to be able to name something. You're not going to be able to identify with something if you're not willing to just dive into whatever it is you're trying to get out of it. Right? Dive into yourself. Take a quick second to step back and just give yourself time to feel. Take a quick second to step back and give yourself time to feel. Yeah. And whatever comes to mind, let it be that. If it's sadness, let it be that. If it's anger, let it be that. If it's happiness, let it be that. If it's excitement, let it be that. I know on the show a few weeks ago, I believe one of the self-care pieces I said was say yes to excitement or you know, say yes to the things that you want to do or something like that. But that's an important one, because I know for me, I don't give myself the time to be excited. Right? Didier had asked me a question about, you know, accomplishments. When it comes to your accomplishments, do you have someone to talk to? Do you have someone to express your accomplishments to? I mean, I do, but I don't get excited about my accomplishments because I feel as if they're just something I'm supposed to do. I'm not giving myself time to feel the excitement that I should have. Like, you know, I have a lot of things going for myself right now, and I just be cruising. Because I'm, on one aspect, I'm numb to certain things that are going on in my life, but on the other aspect, I kind of feel like I'm kind of waiting on things to get bad so I can kind of be prepared for it. So I'm numb and not connected to a lot of the feelings that are going on in my life. So that's the same with you. When we're trying to figure out how to feel, or when we're trying to get away from the numbness, you got to turn into self and name that feeling. Whatever it is. And sometimes you're not going to know what it is. It's going to go back into the first thing I spoke about in terms of, you know, you're confused. Sometimes you're not going to know what that feeling is, and that's cool. That's cool that you don't know what that feeling is. That's cool that you don't know how to identify with it. At least you're trying. A lot of us don't even try, right? We're in this space to where we preach vulnerability. We preach, you know, speaking about our issues to certain people. And as a therapist, I preach that as well. But as a person, do I do that? I don't. I do not. That is something that I'm struggling with even with myself as a therapist. I say this all the time. It is hard for therapy to take therapist advice, you know. But if it's something that you want to do, you have to be able to give time for yourself. So that's another piece that I want everybody to understand, right? In order to be able to get out of this feeling of numbness, you have to give time. Give yourself time to feel. Whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 30 minutes, whether it's an hour, whether it's half the day or the whole day, whatever it is, you know. I tell my patients all the time, especially the depressed ones, the very, very extremely depressed ones, right? Give yourself, it's okay to give yourself a day to where you can just be depressed. It's okay. It's okay to give yourself a day to where this day I'm finna be depressed and I'm finna cry today. I'm finna sit at home today. I'm finna watch Netflix and eat ice cream today. I'm not gonna talk to nobody today. It's okay. But the 6 days after that, you better work your ass off to make sure you're doing everything to get out of it. Because it's all about the balance, right? So give yourself time to feel, whether it's good or bad. Whether it's giving yourself time to feel excitement or giving yourself time to feel sadness or sorrow. Give yourself time to feel that, because I don't. And I'm working at it. I'm trying to. It's a difficult thing. It's not an easy thing at all, because there are things in your closet, or for men specifically, I know for me, it's just pure pride and ego, and that's certain things that we gotta face. But overall with you, give yourself time to just feel. But another thing I want everyone to think about when it comes to you wanting to get out of your feeling of numbness. Are you wanting to get out of your feeling of numbness because these are the feelings that you're trying to come up with? Or are you wanting to get out of your feelings of being numb because these are just somebody else's feelings? Right? What a lot of people do sometimes is they project their feelings onto someone else, right? If we're at a funeral and everyone is crying, you may just be chilling, just, I'm here. Somebody may look at you like, yo, why you not crying? Why you not sad? Why you not this? Why you not that? You don't care about that person like that. And now you're going to start to feel bad about the way you were feeling. No. Don't allow another person to project their own feelings onto you. Right? Don't do that. Misery loves company. So a sad person is going to want a sad person next to them. So they're going to tell all of their feelings onto you and try to bring you in. But that also goes the same with those individuals who are happy. Those individuals who are excited. Give yourself time to feel certain things, but ask yourself, are you taking on someone else's feelings? Are you? And if you realize you are, that means you have to take a step back. That means you have to take a step back and just reassess what's going on. So that way, you can understand that, do you really need to get out of your numbness within this situation? Because as I stated earlier, okay, still having weird little mishaps, but as I stated earlier, we don't know what we're doing. We get confused. And sometimes when we get confused, we kind of, our anxiety goes up. And because our anxiety is going up, we take a step back, all the way back. So when it comes to getting out of this feeling of being numb, right? Ask yourself, are you taking on someone else's feelings? And if you are, take a step back and just reassess where you're at. All right? So moving on forward into the question that I never really asked anyone, question I just never come up with. When was the last time you took time for self? You know, we're speaking about being numbness here, and we're speaking about how to get out of it, and we're speaking about these things, but when was the last time you take time for self? Right? That situation I had yesterday at work, it caused me to take a small amount of time for myself and just collect my thoughts. Right? Because if we don't do that, we're just going to suppress a lot of our emotions. And if we're just suppressing emotion, things are going to just get all the way bad, because they're going to come out on somebody, whether it's you, whether it's coming out on yourself, your friend, your girlfriend, a parent, your child, the random person on the corner, whatever it is. If you don't take time for yourself and your emotions, you're going to suppress them, and they're going to come out. And when they come out, boy, you ain't going to be ready. Okay? So the question I have to ask for everyone, man, when was the last time you took time for self? And if you haven't taken time for yourself as of lately, take a quick second to do that. It doesn't need to be all day. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 10 minutes. It could be whatever. But take a quick second to really take the time and just dive into who you are. All right? So, as always, man, thank you to all those individuals who are listening. Thank you to you if you listening, you stuck out through the show. Because I don't know if you've been listening, but I feel kind of drained right now, and I'm just in here chilling. This music over here messing up. The wires is all cut up, man. The show started about 20 minutes, 25 minutes too late, and sometimes it gets frustrating, right? And even with doing this, right? Sometimes it gets frustrating because I'm doing this show 1,000% on my own, right? I have my guy Didier, and I have my girl who comes by and helps me record, But when it comes to the topics, when it comes to editing the videos and putting them together, when it comes to the research that I do for this, when it comes to inviting certain guests, like it all is on my own. And that's taxing, right? Because I'm not coming up here just randomly speaking. And sometimes you get a little burnt out. You do. Sometimes you get a little burnt out. Am I burnt out from this? Hell no, it's not the case. But this week in itself has kind of been a lot for me, only because I'm getting used to this new schedule that I have. And when you're trying to get used to a new schedule and you're trying to create something new, you begin to kind of lose connection from some of the other things that you're doing. Because you're trying to fit it into the schedule that you already have, and then you're holding on tight to the things that you have already. You don't want to let things go, and you're going to have to realize you're going to be like, okay, let me chill. Right? So for those individuals who have been listening this whole entire show, good looking. You've dealt with the technical difficulties. You dealt with my low energy at this moment. You dealt with a lot of things, but it's just, it's a lot of things that we all go through in life, and it's 1,000% important that people just feel whatever feelings that you're trying to feel. Take a second and just do that. It doesn't have to be all day, but just take a second and just do that. It's not going to kill you, but the real people who have an issue with this is men. We have a drastic issue with this because we want to be too hard. But who are we being hard for? Right? Who are we being hard for? And then we're also lying to ourselves. We're lying to ourselves. We're allowing our ego and our pride to play games with us when in reality we have to be able to control the ship. All right? What's this shit that Megan Stallion say? Rock the boat, dry the boat, whatever that shit is. But that's it. Let me get off of my little rant for a minute. But as always, good looking. I appreciate you. Thank you for all those individuals who are tuning in. And always remember, ain't no wealth without mental health. So please stay blessed and take care of yourself. Be great, y'all. Peace.